Okay, so here's some of the stuff that Evolution sent me to cut. At first when I opened up the box it was kind of weird. I just saw a bunch of this random stuff in there. I thought, why would they send me trash? And then I realized, oh, it's, you know, the test material. So obviously they sent me the board with nails in it like you've seen in every other video. So we know that this will go through with no problem. This was one I don't think I've ever seen them send out, which is a piece of copper tubing. It's kind of weird, but I'm assuming it'll go through that with no problem. And this looks like a piece of oak, so it's just a little bit harder piece of wood. I don't think it'll have any problem with that. Obviously this is some steel plate, and I don't think I've seen anyone that's this thick before. This is probably, I don't know if this is 3/8 or it's not 1/4 inch, but it's pretty beefy. It's going to be interesting to see how this little saw does against that. I know it goes through, I've seen it go through smaller metal, so I'm assuming it's just going to take longer, but it should go through with no problem. PVC, I know it'll go through that. Rebar, obviously. And then this is the weird one, which I don't know who would ever cut this on this type of saw, but this is a piece of cable with obviously 4 carrier strands in it. I'm not sure who actually cuts cable on their miter saw, but I'm not one of those people. I'll try it this time, but this would be something that I would use a pair of pliers for, or just the right tool. This doesn't seem like what you should be doing with it, but hey, they want to try it, we'll try it. So we'll go ahead and get these set up, and I might add a piece of aluminum in here just to try that out, because I work mostly with that, and that's usually a good indicator of how smoothly the blade cuts through it, at least from my perspective. So I'll go ahead and try that out, and then I'll switch out the blades to the aluminum blade and try that again. So give me a second and we'll be... Alright, here's the board with nails. No problem there, apparently. So, let's see if we can get that to focus. Or maybe not. Oh well. But as you can see, no issue there. Went through the pine and the nails. We'll go ahead and try the piece of oak next. Okay, here's the oak. No problem there either. Next, let's see, what do we want to try? Let's try the PVC, see how that works out. Alright, up next is the PVC. So that had no issue either, and it's actually pretty smooth. See if we can get a shot of that. Yeah, no chipping, no burrs, no nothing, so went through that. Okay, I'm going to try the rubber hose just because I'm curious, but this is not something I would ever do, and I don't recommend anyone else do it. Just use the right tools like a pair of pliers or something, or a hacksaw even. It just seems like this might whip around, but I'm going to go ahead and take a risk here. Let's see what happens. Okay, that actually cut through with no problem whatsoever. But one thing I do notice is it tore out some of the fibers, the copper fibers here. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can get a better shot of that. Yeah, so like this whole piece right here has most of the copper fibers missing, so that's why I say I don't think I'd recommend you cutting wire with this. It'll do the job, but yeah, it's probably not the ideal tool for it, but it works. So I'm going to go ahead and try the copper tubing now, but one thing you'll notice is I have these 2 clamps here that I've used because this little thing is not good for round stock. Unlike the Rage 2 that has the actual clamping mechanism with some angle brackets for holding round stock, this is meant more for like flat boards. So if you do that, make sure that you actually try to secure this as best as possible, otherwise this thing's going to come flying out at you. So hence that's why I have the clamps there. Again, I wouldn't use this for round stock. So if you do, you might get injured. And that's not just something that's for evolution. That's for any other tool that's out there. So just try to be safe when you're doing this. So let's go ahead and start cutting this. And that didn't cause any problem at all. Took a little bit longer than the wood, but nice clean cut. Very few burrs, if any, and it's cold to the touch. So, pretty good. One thing I did notice is these were all the fibers that were left over from the wire. So again, don't use this for cutting the cable. I'll say that again. Alright, so next let's see if we want to cut the rebar. Alright, we've got the rebar in place. Again, using the same clamps to hold that down because, as I said, this is just for wood or flat metal. So let's go ahead, and this shouldn't give it any problem, but let's give it a go. Okay, so a little bit of sparks there. That's a little bit more than I see with my Rage 2, but it still went through, no problem. At least I don't think so. Let's go ahead and make sure of that. Yep, nice clean cut. No burrs, and it is cold. Well, not cold, but it's definitely not warm at all. So, great job. Next is the big boy, the piece of plate steel. Let's see if we can get through that. Alright, now we're going to try this piece of plate steel. See how this does. This is probably going to take a little while, but let's give it a shot. Alright, that actually went a lot faster than I thought it was. And it's still cool to the touch. And it is smooth. And very little burrs. So, that did a pretty good job. One thing I will note though, is it's throwing a lot of metal shavings around, so make sure to wear your eye protection and, you know, long sleeve pants and, you know, obviously cover yourself up because, I mean, it's, I don't know if you can see this, but quite a bit of shavings everywhere, and those are actually pretty sharp and hot. So just FYI, they don't all go forward. Some of them come back on you. I was feeling it as I was cutting it, but aside from that, pretty damn good job. As you see again, cuts nice, clean, shiny, no burrs. I'm not getting cut right now, hopefully. So great job. All right. Let's see if we can set this up for a piece of aluminum. I'll probably change out the blade to the aluminum blade and see how that works, and then give it a wrap up and see what we think of it. Alright, give me 1 sec. Okay, we've got a piece of 7075 chucked up in there, and again I'm using the clamps to hold that down, not the little flat piece of board. We'll go ahead and see how this does. 7075 is a pretty hard, well, pretty strong piece of aluminum. It shouldn't pose any problem though. I went through that steel plate like nothing, so let's give this a shot. So as you can see, nice smooth cut. Since it's aluminum, it's a little bit warmer, but not really warm. We've got like one little chipped edge here that I can actually remove with my finger, and after that it's nice and smooth and no real burrs. It can be easily cleaned up on a lathe or on a belt sander. So again, seems like it's cutting through everything. Kind of want to see if the aluminum blade actually does any better than this. I don't really know what more it could do. Probably make it a little bit smoother, but let's check that out. Let me go ahead and set that blade up, and we'll give this a shot.